The Enchiridion by Epictetus. Section 1. On things within and beyond our control. There are things within our control and things beyond our control. Within our control are our opinions, aims, desires, aversions, and in short, everything that is our own business. Beyond our control are our bodies, property, reputations, jobs, and, in short, everything that is not our own business. It's crucial to grasp that the things within our control are naturally free, unrestricted, and unchecked. Conversely, those beyond our control are weak, dependent, restricted, and not truly ours. If we mistakenly believe that things beyond our control are within our control and claim what belongs to others as our own, we will be hindered, frustrated, and upset. We will blame gods and people. But if we only recognize what is ours as our own, no one will ever compel or restrict us. We will not blame or accuse anyone. We will act only following our will, remain unhurt, and have no enemies. It's vital to remember not to desire small, insignificant things when aiming for great things. We must be willing to give up these small desires completely. If we try to pursue great things like power and wealth, we may fail to achieve either. True happiness and freedom can only be attained by making wise choices. When faced with unpleasant things, say to yourself, "You are just an appearance and not the real thing." Then, analyze it using your principles. First, consider if it concerns things within or beyond your control. If it concerns something beyond your control, tell yourself it is nothing to you. Section 2. Select your desires. Remember that desire means wanting to achieve what you desire, and aversion means avoiding what you dislike. If you fail to get what you desire, you will be disappointed, and if you face what you dislike, you will be miserable. If you avoid undesirable things within your control, you will never face anything you dislike. But if you avoid sickness, death, or poverty, you risk being unhappy. Remove aversion from things not in your control and apply it to undesirable things within your control. For now, restrain your desires. If you desire things beyond your control, you will be disappointed. Control your desires and act with discretion, gentleness, and moderation. Section 3. The end of what you love is not your end. When you like something, remind yourself of what it truly is. For example, if you have a favorite cup, remember it is just a cup. If it breaks, you will not be upset. If you love your child or spouse, remember they are mortal. If they die, you will be able to bear it. Section 4. Prepare yourself for the worst. Before starting any action, remind yourself of its nature. If you are going to bathe, think about the usual incidents in a bath. Some people splash, others push, some scold, and some steal. This way, you will be prepared and say, "I am going to bathe and will keep my will in harmony with nature." If something goes wrong, you can say, "I did not just want to bathe, but to keep my will in harmony with nature, and I will not be upset by what happens." Section 5. Events carry no emotions. You do. People are disturbed not by things, but by their views of things. Death is not terrible. The terror is in our view of death. When hindered, disturbed, or grieved, do not blame others but yourself, your views. It is the action of an ignorant person to blame others for their misfortunes. Someone who is beginning to learn blames themselves, and someone who is fully educated blames neither others nor themselves. Section 6. Only be proud of what is yours. Do not be proud of any excellence that is not your own. If a horse is pleased and says, "I am handsome," it might be endurable. But if you say, "I have a handsome horse," know that you are proud of something that is not your own. What is truly yours? the use of the phenomena of existence. When you are in harmony with nature in this respect, you will have a reason to be proud. Section 7. Focus on the mission. As in a voyage, when the ship is at anchor, if you go ashore to get water, you may amuse yourself by picking up a shellfish or a truffle, but keep your thoughts on the ship and be ready to return when the captain calls. Similarly, if you are given a wife or a child, there is no problem, but if the captain calls, run back to the ship, leaving everything behind. Stay close to the boat to avoid being left behind if you are old. Section 8. Wish for things to happen as they happen. Do not demand that events happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and you will be happy. Section 9. Nothing impedes your will unless you allow it. Sickness impedes the body but not the will, unless the will chooses to be hindered. Lameness impedes the leg but not the will. Say this to yourself about everything that happens. You will find that it affects something else but not honestly yourself. Section 10. Turn your virtues into habits. In any situation, turn to yourself and ask what ability you have to deal with it. If you meet a beautiful person, you will find self-control is needed. If you face pain, you need courage. If someone insults you, you need patience. By training yourself this way, you can handle life's challenges. Section 11. We own nothing. Never say of anything, I have lost it, but I have returned it. Has your child died? It is returned. Has your spouse died? They are returned. Has your property been taken away? It is returned. But it was a bad person who took it. What matters to you? By whose hands the giver takes it back? While it is yours, take care of it as something not your own, like a traveler at an inn. Section 12. Don't worry about a thing. If you want to improve, stop thinking like this. If I neglect my affairs, I will not have a livelihood. If I do not punish my servant, he will be useless. It is better to die of hunger free from grief and fear than to live in plenty and be disturbed. Your servant should rather be bad than for you to be unhappy. Start with small things. If a bit of oil is spilled or a little wine stolen, say to yourself, this is the price for peace and tranquility. When you call your servant, consider that they may not come at your call or do what you wish. Your servant shouldn't have the power to disturb you. Section 13. You don't have to know it all. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and ignorant about external things. Refrain from being considered knowledgeable. Even if you appear to be someone important to others, distrust yourself. Keeping your will in harmony with nature and pursuing external things is difficult simultaneously. You must neglect one to focus on the other. Section 14. Know your limits. If you wish your children, spouse, or friends to live forever, you are foolish. You want things to be in your control that are not, and what belongs to others to be yours. If you wish your servant to be without fault, you are foolish since you want what is vice, not to be vice, but something else. That is within your control if you wish not to be disappointed in your desires. Practice what is within your control. A person's master is whoever can grant or take away what that person desires or wants to avoid. Whoever wants to be free must not choose or avoid anything that depends on others. Otherwise, they will be enslaved. Section 15. Don't want too hard. Remember to act as if you were at a banquet. If something is passed to you, take a moderate share. If it passes by you, do not stop it. If it has yet to come, do not yearn for it. Wait until it reaches you. This advice applies to children, spouses, jobs, or wealth. If you let them go, you will be worthy to feast with the gods. If you can even forego what is set before you, you will be worthy to rule with the gods. By doing this, Diogenes and Heraclitus became divine and were recognized as such. Section 16. Distinguish between loss and suffering. When you see someone grieving, whether because their child has left or they have suffered a loss, be careful not to be overwhelmed by the appearance of their suffering. Be ready to say, what hurts this person is not the event itself but their view of it. Still, do not disdain to sympathize with them outwardly. Be careful not to groan inwardly as well. Section 17. Live well the life you are given. Remember, you are an actor in a drama chosen by the author. If it is short, then it is brief. If it is long, then it is long. If the author wants you to play a poor person, a cripple, a ruler, or a private citizen, see that you act well. Your job is to perform your role well, not to choose the role. Section 18. Will your destiny. When a raven croaks ominously, do not be overcome by appearances. Discriminate and say, nothing is predicted to me, my body, property, reputation, children, or spouse. All omens are good for me if I will. Whatever happens, it is up to me to make good use of it. Section 19. Respect those things beyond your control. You can be unconquerable if you enter a competition where winning is outside your control. When you see someone honored or powerful, do not be overwhelmed by appearances and pronounce them happy. Remember, if the essence of what is good lies in what is within our control, there is no room for envy or rivalry. Do not desire to be a general, senator, or consul, but to be free. The only way to do this is by respecting things beyond our control. Section 20. Distinguish between your opinion and reality. Remember, it is not the person who insults or strikes you who offends you, but your judgment that they insulted or attacked you. When someone provokes you, be assured it is your opinion that provokes you. Try first to avoid being carried away by appearances. Gain time and respite, and you will more easily control yourself. Section 21. Reflect on death and exile every day. Keep death and exile and all other things that seem terrible daily before your eyes, but especially death. You will never have an abject thought or desire anything too strongly. Section 22. Stay true to your path. If you genuinely want to study philosophy, prepare to be laughed at and mocked from the beginning. People will say, he suddenly turned into a philosopher, and where did he get that proud look? Do not have a proud look, but hold to what seems best to you. If you stay true to your path, those who laugh will eventually admire you. But if their ridicule sways you, you will earn double mockery. Section 23. Be true to yourself. If you ever pay attention to external things for someone else's pleasure, know that you have ruined your life plan. Be satisfied with being a philosopher in everything. If you want to be thought a philosopher, be content to seem so to yourself, and it will suffice you. Section 24. Good and evil are in your power. Do not be distressed by thoughts like, I will live in dishonor and be nobody anywhere. If dishonor is evil, you cannot be involved in evil through another. Is it your business to gain power or be invited to entertainment? By no means. How is it then that you will be nobody anywhere when you ought to be somebody only in things within your control? But my friends will be unassisted. What do you mean by unassisted? They will not have money from you, nor will you make them Roman citizens. Who told you that these are within your control and not the business of others? Who can give another what they do not have themselves? But get these things so we too may have a share. Show me how to get them while keeping my honor, self-respect, and fidelity. But if you ask me to lose my proper good, consider how unreasonable and foolish you are. Besides, would you rather have a sum of money or a faithful, honorable friend? Help me to gain this character instead of requiring me to do things by which I may lose it. Well, you say, but my country will be unassisted. What assistance do you mean? It will not have entrances or baths provided by you. What does it matter? The smith does not provide it with shoes, nor the shoemaker with arms. It is enough if everyone does their own business properly. If you supply your country with a faithful and honorable citizen, you are of use to it. What position, then, shall I hold in the state? Whatever position you can hold while keeping your fidelity and honor. If by desiring to serve the state you lose these, how can you help your country when you have become faithless and shameless? Section 25. Pay the price. If someone is preferred before you at entertainment, courtesies, or confidential conversations, rejoice if these things are good. If they are evil, do not be upset that you do not have them. Remember, you must use the same means to compete with others in external things. It is unjust and unreasonable to want the same things as others without paying the price. For instance, if lettuces are sold for a silver coin and someone pays the price, they get the lettuces while you keep your silver coin. Similarly, you have not been invited to someone's entertainment because you did not pay the price of praise or attendance. If you think it is worth it, give him the value. To avoid paying the price, be reasonable and wise by wanting both. Have you nothing then instead of the supper? Yes, you have, not praising someone you do not want to praise and not bearing the insolence of their attendance. Section 26. Things happen without a reason. We learn the will of nature from everyday occurrences. When your neighbor's boy breaks a cup, you say, "These things happen." Be assured then when your cup breaks, you should feel the same. Apply this to greater things. If another's child or spouse dies, everyone says, "This is a part of life." But when your child dies, you say, "How miserable I am." Remember how we react when hearing such things about others. Section 27. There is no natural evil in the world. As a target is not set up to be missed, nothing in the world is naturally evil. Section 28. Value your thoughts. If someone handed your body over to any passerby, you would be angry. But when you hand over your mind to anyone who insults you, do you feel no shame? Section 29. Choose your path and follow it with discipline and determination. Consider what comes before and after in any situation, and then undertake it. Otherwise, you will begin with enthusiasm but end with shame when encountering difficulties. I want to win at the Olympic Games. Consider what comes before and after. You must follow the rules, have a strict diet, refrain from delicacies, and exercise your body whether you like it or not at set times in heat and cold. You must drink no cold water and sometimes no wine. In a word, you must give yourself up to your trainer as to a doctor. Then, in the contest, you may be thrown, dislocate your arm, turn your ankle, swallow dust, receive lashes, and finally, lose the victory. When you have considered all this, if you still want it, go for it. If not, do not act like children who sometimes play wrestlers, sometimes gladiators, blow trumpets, and sometimes act plays. Thus, you too will be at one time a wrestler, another a gladiator, now a philosopher, then an orator, but nothing sincerely. Like an ape, you mimic all you see, and one thing after another catches your fancy but is soon out of favor. You have never undertaken anything thoughtfully, or after fully considering the matter, but carelessly, with a half-hearted effort. When they see a philosopher and hear someone speaking like Euphrates, some people want to be philosophers too. Consider first what kind of person you are and if your nature can bear it. If you want to be a wrestler, consider your shoulders, back, and thighs. Different people are made of different things. Can you act as you do and still be a philosopher? You must watch, work hard, conquer some desires, leave your friends, be despised by your servant, be laughed at by others, and come off worse in everything, in offices, honors, and before tribunals. Consider all this and decide if you want to pay the price for serenity, freedom, and tranquility. If not, do not start and do not, like children, play at being a philosopher, tax collector, orator, and government official. These things need to be more consistent. Be one person, either good or bad. Cultivate your own reason or external things. Be a philosopher or one of the crowd. Section 30. Another can't hurt you unless you allow it. Relationships measure duties. Is someone your father? This means caring for him, submitting to him in all things, and patiently accepting his reproaches and corrections. But he is a lousy father. Is your natural tie to a good father? No, but to a father. Is a brother unjust? Preserve your just relation toward him. Consider not what he does, but what you must do to keep your will in harmony with nature. Another person cannot hurt you unless you allow it. You will be broken when you consent to be hurt. In this way, you can deduce your corresponding duties considering the relationships of neighbor, citizen, or commander. Section 31. Make good or evil only depend on what is within your control. True piety toward the gods means having correct opinions about them, recognizing their existence, and believing they govern the universe justly and well. Commit to obeying them, yielding to them, and willingly following them in all events, as guided by perfect wisdom. This way, you will never blame or accuse the gods of neglect. This can only be achieved by withdrawing from things beyond our control and making good or evil depend only on what is within our control. If you believe other things to be good or evil, you will undoubtedly blame and reproach their authors when you are disappointed or encounter what you want to avoid. Every creature naturally flees from what seems harmful and pursues what appears beneficial. It is impossible for someone who believes they are hurt to rejoice in the person who hurts them, just as it is impossible to rejoice in the hurt itself. A son reviles his father when the father does not provide what seems good to him. This made Polynices and Eteocles enemies. Both desired power. The farmer reviles the gods like the sailor, merchant, or anyone who has lost a loved one. Where our interest lies, there too is our righteousness. Whoever properly regulates their desires and aversions also regulates their piety. It is also vital to offer sacrifices, first fruits, and other customs of your country purely and sincerely, without greed or extravagance. Section 32. Understand the difference between an event and your feelings about the event. When you seek divination, remember that you do not know the outcome, and you approach the diviner to learn it. But if you are philosophical, you already know the nature of the event. It can neither be good nor bad if it is beyond your control. Do not approach the diviner with desire or aversion, otherwise you will tremble. First, understand that every event is indifferent and nothing to you, whatever it may be. You have the power to make good use of it, and no one can prevent this. Then, approach the gods with confidence as your advisors. When they give counsel, remember who they are and whose advice you neglect if you disobey. Follow Socrates' example and only consult the oracle when the entire matter is beyond human reason and art. When facing danger from a friend or country, we should not consult the oracle about whether we should do so. If the diviner forewarns of unfavorable omens, it only means death, mutilation, or exile. Reason within us directs us, even with these hazards, to stand by our friends and country. Pay attention to the greater diviner, the Pythian god, who cast out of the temple a man who neglected to save his friend. Section 33. Rules for living a calm life. Start by defining some character and behavior you can maintain alone and in company. Be mostly silent, or only speak what is necessary in a few words. Engage in conversation sparingly, and only when the occasion calls for it. Avoid discussing common topics like gladiators, horse races, athletes, food, or drugs, and especially avoid talking about people to blame, praise, or compare. Steer the conversation to the proper subjects. If you are among strangers, remain silent. Do not laugh loudly, frequently, or excessively. Avoid swearing, or at least do it as little as possible. Avoid public and vulgar entertainments, but if you must attend, stay vigilant and do not slide into vulgarity. Remember that even the purest person can be corrupted by a corrupted companion. Provide only the necessary things for the body: food, drink, clothing, shelter, and servants. Cut out everything that leads to showiness and luxury. Before marriage, guard yourself against unlawful relationships with women. Do not judge or be harsh to those in such relationships. Do not frequently boast that you behave differently. If someone says terrible things about you, do not defend yourself. Instead say, "He did not know about my other faults," or "he would not have mentioned only these." You only need to attend public spectacles occasionally. If you must, focus only on yourself. Wish things to happen as they do and for the best person to win. Abstain from cheering, jeering, or strong emotions. When you leave, do not talk excessively about what happened. Such talk shows you were dazzled by the show. Do not be quick to attend private readings. If you do, maintain your dignity and avoid being unpleasant. When you meet someone important, imagine how Socrates or Zeno would behave. This will help you face the situation appropriately. If you see someone in power, imagine you might not find him at home, or he might not notice you. If this happens, bear it and do not say, "It was not worth the effort." This is vulgar and shows you are distracted by external things. Avoid frequently discussing your actions and dangers with others. It may be enjoyable for you, but not for others. Avoid trying to make others laugh. This can lead to vulgarity and lower your opinion. Avoid indecent talk. When it happens, take the first opportunity to rebuke the person or show your displeasure through silence, blushing, or a severe look. Section 34. Find joy in self-control. If the promise of pleasure attracts you, guard yourself against being overwhelmed. Let the matter wait and give yourself some time. Consider both moments, the moment of enjoyment and the moment of regret. Set against them the joy and self-approval you will feel if you abstain. Even if the pleasure seems reasonable, consider its enticements and how much better it is to be aware of self-control. Section 35. Do not fear criticism. When you act based on a clear judgment that it should be done, do not avoid being seen doing it, even if the world misunderstands. If your action is wrong, avoid it. If it is correct, why fear those who wrongly criticize you? Section 36. Value the proper things. The statement, "Either it is day or night," is vital in a disjunctive argument but weak in a conjunctive one. At a feast, choosing the largest share satisfies bodily appetite but goes against the spirit of the gathering. When eating with others, consider the value of the food and the value of proper courtesy toward your host. Section 37. Accept only roles you can handle. When you must take on a role beyond your ability to succeed in it, you abandon a role you could have fulfilled. Section 38. Be aware of logical errors. As you take care not to step on a nail or twist your ankle, do not harm your mind's ruling faculty. We would act more safely if we guarded against this in every action. Section 39. Respect limitations. The body is the proper measure of its possessions, just as the foot is of the shoe. If you stick to this measure, you will be fine. If you go beyond it, you will be carried away, like falling off a cliff. As with a shoe, if you go beyond its fit, it becomes gilded, purple, and studded with jewels. Once you exceed the proper measure, there is no limit. Section 40. Praise people for what they do rather than how they look. From the age of 14, girls are flattered by men who call them beautiful. They start to see their worth in pleasing men and adorn themselves, hoping to be admired. It is better to teach them that they are honored for their good behavior and modesty. Section 41. Focus on your reasoning. Spending too much time on bodily concerns like exercise, eating, drinking, and other physical functions is a sign of a weak mind. These should be done incidentally, with your primary focus on reasoning. Section 42. Every villain is the hero in their own story. When someone wrongs or criticizes you, remember they act based on what they think is right. They cannot follow what appears correct to you. They only follow what seems right. If they judge wrongly, they are the ones hurt and deceived. If someone considers a true statement false, the statement is not hurt, but the person is deceived. Based on these principles, be patient with someone who insults you, saying to yourself, "It seemed right to them." Section 43. Focus on the bright side. Everything has two sides, one that can be endured and one that cannot. If your brother acts unjustly, do not focus on his injustice, as it cannot be endured. Instead, focus on the fact that he is your brother and that he grew up with you. This way, you can bear the situation. Section 44. You are not your style or properties. These arguments have no logical connection. I am richer than you, so I am superior to you. I am more eloquent than you, so I am superior to you. The proper connection is, I am richer than you, so my property is greater than yours. I am more eloquent than you, so my style is better than yours. But you are not defined by your property or style. Section 45. Avoid rash judgments. If someone bathes quickly, do not say they bathe poorly, but quickly. If someone drinks a lot of wine, do not say they drink poorly, but they drink a lot. How can you know if they act poorly unless you understand their motives perfectly? This way, you will not be misled by appearances you do not fully understand. Section 46. Let your actions speak louder than your words. Never call yourself a philosopher or talk a lot about your principles among uneducated people. Show them by your actions. Do not talk about how people should eat at a meal, but eat as you should. Socrates avoided showing off his principles. When people came to him wanting to meet philosophers, he introduced them without boasting. If there is a discussion of principles among uneducated people, mostly keep silent. There is a significant risk in hastily throwing out unformed ideas. If someone says you know nothing and you are not upset, you have genuinely started your work. Sheep do not show how much they have eaten by vomiting their food. They digest it and produce wool and milk. Similarly, do not show off your principles, but let your actions speak for you. Section 47. Be humble about your achievements. If you learn to nourish your body frugally, do not boast about it. If you drink water, do not always say, "I drink water." Consider how much more frugal people experiencing poverty are, and how much more they endure. If you practice hardship for your own sake, don't do it to show off. Do not attempt great feats. If you are thirsty, just rinse your mouth with water and tell no one. Section 48. Look inside yourself for all help or harm. An ordinary person looks for help or harm from external things. A philosopher looks to themselves for all help or harm. A proficient person blames no one, praises no one, and accuses no one. They say nothing about themselves being someone or knowing anything. When hindered or restrained, they blame themselves. If praised, they smile at the person who praises them. If criticized, they make no defense. They are cautious, like a recovering invalid, careful not to interfere with anything that is not yet secure. They restrain desire, avoid things that thwart their will, use their energy moderately, and do not care if they appear stupid or ignorant. They watch over themselves as an enemy in ambush. Section 49. Find the essence of the matter. When someone shows off their ability to understand and interpret Chrysippus's works, think to yourself, if Chrysippus had not written obscurely, this person would have nothing to be proud of. But what do I want? To understand nature and follow her. I ask who interprets her, and hearing Chrysippus does, I go to him. I do not understand his writings, so I find an interpreter. There is nothing to be proud of in this. When I find an interpreter, what remains is to use his instructions. This alone is valuable. If I admire only the interpretation, what makes me more than a grammarian, interpreting Chrysippus instead of Homer? When someone asks me to read Chrysippus, I blush if I cannot show actions that match his discourse. Section 50. Seek to be like Socrates. Whatever rules you adopt, stick to them as laws and consider it impious to break them. Do not worry about what others say about you. What others say about you is none of your concern. How long will you delay demanding the best of yourself and never violating reason's judgments? You have received philosophical principles and studied them. What other master are you waiting for to excuse your delay in self-improvement? You are no longer a child but a grown person. If you remain negligent and slothful, adding delay to delay, purpose to purpose, and set days to attend to yourself, you will accomplish nothing. You will live and die with an ordinary mind. This instant, think of yourself as worthy of living as an adult and a proficient person. Let whatever appears best be an inviolable law to you. If any pain, pleasure, glory, or disgrace appears, remember that now is the contest, now the Olympics, and they cannot be postponed. By one failure or defeat, honor is lost or won. Socrates became perfect by improving himself in everything following reason alone. Though you are not yet a Socrates, live as one seeking to be a Socrates. Section 51. Why we should not lie. The first and most necessary philosophical topic is applying the principle, we should not lie. The second is demonstrating why we should not lie. The third strengthens and connects the other two, answering the questions. What is a demonstration? What is the consequence? What is a contradiction? What is truth? What is falsehood? The third point is necessary because of the second, and the second because of the first. But the most critical is the first. We do the opposite. We spend all our time on the third point, neglect the first, and are quick to show why lying is wrong while we lie. Always have these maxims ready. Lead me, Zeus, and you, O destiny, wherever your decrees have set my path. I will follow without hesitation. If I resist, I will follow anyway in misery and grief. Whoever yields appropriately to fate is wise and knows the laws of heaven. And this one, O Credo, if the gods will it so, let it be. Anytus and Meletus may kill me, but they cannot harm me.